Insurance company Old Mutual has been at the receiving end of a social media storm over a customer, Sibabatso Mulife's complaint. Mulife tweeted that Old Mutual defied a court order to release her mother's pension funds. The tweet went viral on X with over 1 million retweets and views and several comments that contained other complaints from social media users. We spoke to the Ombudsman yesterday on this story. And let's continue the discussion this morning. Old Mutual's Director for Strategy, People, Sustainability and Public Affairs, Celiwe Ross, is now joining us this morning. Celiwe, good morning and thank you so much for making time for us.
Good morning, Aldrin. Thank you so much for making the time for me.
Well, quite a week for Old Mutual. You just reported that the expectation that your profits would increase by around 45% compared to last year. And then you also have the storm. By the way, congratulations on these numbers as well.
Thank you.
What do these numbers represent to you, though, Celiwe, as Old Mutual, that you've made a profit of around 45%?
I think they represent the trust that our customers continue to place in us as a company by believing that the advice that they're getting from us and therefore the products that they purchase from us are the correct ones.
Yeah, so the trust that the customers have in you. Then why is Old Mutual treating its customers in this way?
I think the outcry on X is noted. It's something that we've been observing, something that we're reflecting on, something that we're deeply concerned about. I have to start by saying that. And we are encouraging people to continue to come forward to share those stories with us. So where we are able to assist and what we can resolve, we will. That commitment remains. Yeah. However, Aldrin, I have to also say that Old Mutual does pay and does fulfill the promises of its customers. Over the last year, we've paid in excess of 49 billion rands worth of claims. Every single day, we paid 30 million rands worth of claims. That is not a small amount. Those are promises that we keep. There are odd occasions when things go wrong. So, for example, with funeral claims, if people arrive in any of our branches or submit documents that are incomplete, that leads to delay. Not to non-payment, but it leads to delay. There are issues that we do need to investigate. We're a highly regulated industry and sector, and we need to abide by the laws and regulations of our country. And oftentimes you'll find people trying to commit fraud, for example, on funeral claims, claiming to be a beneficiary that they're not, claiming someone that is deceased, they are not. If we are not thorough in our processes, we put many of our customers at risk, whose own processes then are jeopardized. We do pay. 9 out of 10 of our funeral claims are paid in less than 4 hours. When the claim is valid, we pay and pay very quickly.
Okay, so what happened here with the matter of Mrs. Mulife?
Yeah, I think the important thing to understand is that the matter is extremely complex. Firstly, we are dealing with a pension fund, a retirement fund issue between two individuals. And pension funds, by their very nature, are highly regulated. They're subject to the Income Tax Act and the Pension Funds Act, which requires us to act in a certain way and to receive certain directives from other regulators outside of Old Mutual. We are a third party facilitating the movement of funds. And as a result of some of those legal complexities, as well as the legal nature of the interactions between the two parties, have made this more complex and certainly more protracted, which is what led to the frustration. The matter itself is extremely complex. You will have seen Ms. Mulife in her post yesterday did share that we met, and the discussions were good, and we shared 2 options with them. Those 2 options are options that they as a family still need to discuss and consider, take advice on, revert back to us, and then we need to start the process of determining how we get them paid. Yep. The intention is to make sure that Mrs. Mulife is paid.
Are you able to share what those options are, considering that you're speaking about the complexity of this matter?
I can't, Aldrin. I can't. We take the privacy of our customers very, very seriously. I can't share those options because it reveals the matters of the case, and that is a private matter between 2 individuals who are sorting it out.
So following the Twitter storm, does the complexity of this matter become less complex? Because now there's been a meeting between Old Mutual as well as the aggrieved family.
I would agree with your view, Aldrin, if we walked out of the meeting yesterday and Mrs. Mulife was paid. The fact that she wasn't paid after yesterday's meeting and that there are options being considered and thought through should elevate why this is such a complex matter. Payment is not an issue. We can effect payments. There are a number of regulatory and process challenges that we need to work through to ensure that Mrs. Molefe is paid. And she will be.
She will be paid, but why haven't they been paid as yet?
As I explained before, it's the complexity of this case.
Yeah, what's the complexity of it? That's what we're trying to get to.
So there are tax directives that have to be gotten. There are a number of pension fund regulations that we need to adhere to. And as I mentioned, there is a private matter between two individuals that's involved here that I cannot disclose. They haven't disclosed it publicly. So therefore, it is not my obligation to disclose what the matter between them is. However, that is what is causing the complexity.
Yeah. Is it true that there has been an order since December last year that you should pay within 7 days?
It is true that the family has an order, or the couple has an order. It is not true that that order instructed us to pay.
It says here, to this end, Old Mutual's further specifically ordered to make separate payments of the sum of, which is scratched out, which means that Old Mutual is directed to make a payment.
I'm not sure what document you're reading, Aldrin, so you're going to have to help me out there.
This is the one that was shared by Sibabatso Molefe, who started this entire storm. She shared it on X.
Yeah, that's not a document from December, from February though. But as I said, that's exactly why we had to sit and walk through what the options are to effect that payment.
Okay.
The matter is extremely complex.
Excuse me?
The matter is extremely complex.
The matter is extremely complex. Okay. So Sibabatso also tweeted or X'd that one of your staff members had asked her to delete her tweet. Why?
Oh, I can't answer that. I have no idea why.
No, it's your staff member. Surely you should have an idea of why they would ask a customer, a client who's complaining or complaining on behalf of their parents, why they should be deleting the tweet, because it speaks to the reputation of Old Mutual.
Aldrin, we employ 32,000 people. I cannot account for why one person said what they said to Ms. Molefe. It's unfortunate. I cannot say why they did it.
You employ 32,000 people, but right now the matter that has brought you on air is the Molefe matter. So surely you must know why such an instruction would come from your staff members, your colleagues.
I do not.
You don't know?
Certainly look into it. I was not even aware.
All right.
But certainly something we can look into.
What do you make of it, though? What do you make of a colleague of yours instructing a client to delete a post where they are complaining about treatment from Old Mutual?
I will look into it, Aldrin. I can't comment on something that I don't even know who the person is, but I would have to look into it to comment fairly. Yeah,
I'm just asking now in general that here is Sibabatso saying that I was instructed by one of your colleagues to delete a tweet. And I'm asking you now, what do you make of it? If a staff member of yours was to instruct a client to delete a post where they lodge a complaint, is this ethical?
Yeah, I think that
is it ethical?
There is freedom of speech in our country, and Ms. Molefe is entitled to post what she would like to post. Anybody who's telling her not to, whoever they are, is incorrect. She's expressing herself in the way that she's allowed to, and she should be allowed to. She hasn't been rude. She hasn't been disrespectful to anyone. She's merely sharing her experience, and she should be allowed to do that.
Okay, that person is Miss Marta, I think. Yeah, it's Miss Marta according to the X there from Sibabatso. But here's the other thing about it is, so you have one of your staff members instructing a client to delete a post. Then you have other complaints against your staff members as well, or the treatment from Old Mutual. What does that tell us about the corporate culture of Old Mutual and how it treats its staff, but also how its staff treats its clients?
I've seen some very deeply concerning posts, both from former employees, but also from customers around how they have been treated in the process. It's something that we need to look into, Aldrin, something that we're deeply considering and need to look into. I wouldn't ascribe it to a corporate culture per se, because in as much as we'll hear the challenging stories that we need to step into, there are many great stories from our people internally as they stand today, and even those who've left and gone on to do great things elsewhere.
Yeah, but this is not the first time that Old Mutual has found itself in such a storm. There's reference that's being made to the 2019 incident. And back then also, Old Mutual said it was unfortunate what has happened, where a family took a body bag into one of your offices in KwaZulu-Natal. So clearly there is a problem with how your staff members are treating its clients.
Yeah, I think those are all unfortunate experiences and experiences that we deeply regret, and have expressed that regret to those families and rectified what went wrong in all of those processes.
Okay, just the final one, Celiwe, once again. Old Mutual again issued a statement in response to the Molefe matter, saying that Old Mutual acknowledged that Mr. and Mrs. Molefe sought to have an order made directing Old Mutual to make payment from invested funds. Such an order would contravene the relevant legislation, including the Pension Fund Act and the Income Tax Act. Old Mutual has advised Mrs. Molefe of this view. In this respect, Old Mutual now engage with both Mr. and Mrs. Molefe's legal representatives and, if necessary, approach the courts to resolve the matter expeditiously. Why do you say that such an order would be unlawful?
Where are you reading that from, Meldrin?
This is a statement that has come from Old Mutual in response to the Molefe matter.
The statement that we issued yesterday?
No, the statement wasn't issued yesterday. The statement was issued about 4 days ago.
The statement that went out on Friday. I see.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's important that we continue to maintain the confidentiality of the parties that are involved here. Focusing on the court order in and of itself or alone, and not considering the legal ramifications that are involved from an income tax perspective and a Pension Funds Act perspective, are where things can get a little bit worried. The fact that we had the meeting and the options that were discussed with the Molefes are where we are demonstrates that whilst there's solution and relief being sought, it's a complex matter that requires quite a bit of application, and we're in the process of doing that with the family.
Okay. Has anyone been held accountable, Celiwe?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, those discussions are happening.
Who has been held accountable from Old Mutual?
I can't share those details.
You don't have to give us names. Who has been held accountable for from Old Mutual for the distress that this family has been forced to go through?
We are investigating internally and making sure that those who need to be held accountable are held accountable.
So for now, nobody has been held accountable. The matter is still under investigation.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. That was Old Mutual's Director of Public Affairs, Celiwe Ross.